For the second portion of this tutorial, we're going to look at key bindings. Now here again, everyone has a personal preference for how they want to set up their key bindings, but I'm going to show you a few of the tricks that I've picked up over the many years of MMO gaming that allow me to perform at my craft a little better than everyone else. For one thing, I don't use strafe left or strafe right, because when I play in-game, I am always right-clicking on the screen like this to move the screen around like it's a first-person shooter. This allows me to survey my surroundings in greater detail, allows me to keep track of what's going on, and simply play the game at a much faster pace than players who might be moving a little more like this. See that it's much more difficult to survey your surroundings quickly when you're keyboard turning like this, as opposed to right-clicking on the screen. And so what we try to do is, as pro gamers, when we play MMOs, is we try to basically spend as much time right-clicking on the screen and holding it for our view as possible, which means that we need to execute the vast majority of our skills using keybinds. You'll find that, for the most part, and I'm going to skip down on this list, MMOs right here often tend to make your main action bar 1 through 0, and then they add the dash and the equals sign there. This is not a very good way to set up your main action bar, simply because everything from 6 to the equals sign happens to be very far away from your movement keys. And so you're not going to be able to press those without letting go of your movement keys, which will cause you to have to stop moving, which isn't the best idea in PvP, where if you're trying to run away from a few extra mobs and adds that you might have pulled. So what I do is I go ahead and reset these to keys that are closer to my movement keys, so that I can press all of them while still either strafing to the left or the right, or moving forward or backwards, so that I can always maintain myself as a moving target. More difficult to target, more difficult to hit by the enemy. My personal preference for these keys, and again here, you can experiment on your own using the keys that are around the movement keys to find something that works best for you. But what I use is Z. Let me turn this off here. And then I bind, these are my two most important ones that I bind, which is Q and E. These are your strafe left and strafe right buttons normally. Since I don't use those buttons, and since they're so close to all of my movement buttons, this makes them essentially my most used skill buttons. Whatever abilities that I usually maybe spam, or that don't have cooldowns, or that I use all the time, I'll bind these to Q and to E so that I can use them very quickly while moving forward. As far as starting across the top, I go ahead and hijack the little dash tilde button near the upper left hand corner of the keyboard. Then I begin moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but instead of moving to 6, which is too far away to use while moving, I go ahead and use the R key. I also bind the T key, and then I bind the G key. Now when you bind the G key in this game, it's bound to guild, so you'll want to go ahead and rebind your guild key to something else that's further away from your movement keys. And then what I do for my second action bar, right above my main action bar, get in the habit of using Alt and then the exact same layout as I had above. And the only exception to this is that I use X instead of Z. And I'll talk later about why I use Z and X there. But for the rest of the keys, I simply bind Alt-Q, Alt-E, Alt-tilde, Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Alt 4, Alt 5, Alt R, Alt T, and Alt G for my main action keys. Now your two sidebars over here, you'll actually have to come down all the way to action bar 8 for those. That's just how Rift works. But there are a few keys that I go ahead and bind on bars 8 and 9. Bar 8 I will bind Alt B, which I use to drink water. I'll also bind right below that Control Q, which is a bind that I use for my potions, so that I can use them quickly but I don't accidentally use them, as they are on 3-minute timers in this game. Another bar that I'll set up, and I usually put it at the bottom of action bar 9, is F and Alt F. These are what I use for my racial talent and for mounting. And in this case, and in this game, I always choose Bahami because I feel that I actually nickname it the Bahami Haxor skill. The jump allows you to get to places that other races in this game can't with their racial abilities. That will do it for the keybinding tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out now.